We talk about a lot of crazy things on this show. We tend to poke fun at the craziness of culture that's out there. But this is real. This affects real people.
Oh, yeah.
And we're talking about, one of the top 8 GOP priorities in this 87th legislative session that recently passed was to stop the gender modification of children.
Number 3 priority.
This is absolutely, and it wasn't addressed.
No.
And this is something that's flying in the face. This is Texas. So, this shouldn't happen anywhere.
So Dan Phelan has 100% approval rating from the Human Rights Campaign,
Human Rights, yeah.
which is the largest gay and lesbian, transgender lobbying group. I mean, it's the, I think Matt Rinaldi has called it the gay mafia because they come after you. They'll go after your kids, anybody when they do
Ruthless.
that. But here's the disturbing fact, and this is going to shock you, I think. The transgender movement in America is funded by Republicans, not by Democrats.
Wow.
Paul Singer, who founded the Human Rights Campaign, is the largest donor, I believe, to the Republican Party now. And James Pritzker, who now calls himself Jennifer Pritzker, is the one who has funded the child transgender movements and is pushing it on children and has created the entire counseling movement around this.
Wow.
So as soon as my sons both said that James wanted to be on, Jude stood up for him with the counselor, said, I want to be a boy, I want to go to school as a boy. Immediately, that counselor, Susan Fletcher, Abbott appointee, called a meeting, refused to call my son by his legal name, called him a girl, called CPS on me and said I was a danger to the children, and that on that basis, the judge has removed all my parental rights and I can't see my sons at all anymore.
You're violating a court order by even talking on this show.
Absolutely.
I mean, temporary restraining order, gag order.
Oh, yeah.
All of these things.
I'm, look, I have just decided for myself that I am never, after this mask mandate and after what's happened with my son, I will never follow an unconstitutional law, an unconstitutional mandate, or an unconstitutional order. And I want to go to jail because that's the only way to get standing to challenge them in the Supreme Court. Mm-hmm. And I've told the judge this. If you think by violating that gag order that I should be put in jail and I should be held in criminal contempt, I think you should give me the maximum jail sentence because I want standing to go to the Texas Supreme Court and make you justify violating the Texas Constitution.
And your ex is a pediatrician.
She is.
She practices in Coppell.
Coppell, Texas.
And people are taking their children.
Yeah.
Get away.
And this is not a new news story. We've been talking about this for years now. So if you're a parent and your kid's still
muted.
going
Hang
to
on.
see his ex,
hit your button,
you're crazy
Lisa.
too.
Yeah. You're abusing.
You're
Hit your
abusing
mute
your
button.
own children.
Turn your microphone on. Yeah. There you go.
Oh. I said you're abusing your child by taking it to that counselor, not just the doctor, but the counselor. Name the judge. Name the whole thing. Go after the money.
And for those of you who, I'm sitting here, I'm holding court documents right here. These are some of the things. You're not supposed to cut the hair of your children.
What?
You're supposed to affirm Luna and honor her choices both inside and outside the home.
No way.
Enjoin non-affirming behavior and or taking Luna outside the home as James or allowing others to do so. Modify the father's possession on school rights when there are school-related activities that may occur during father's possession. Enjoin from condemning the mother for saying Luna or from the father hanging up when he hears the name Luna during electronic communications. Enjoining dad from signing the child up for activities or taking her as James or calling her James at any activities. Enjoining the father for allowing the children to remain in the presence of anyone who is not calling the child Luna or using the pronoun her and affirming Luna. And right now, you've lost custody.
Completely. I basically have the custody you would have if you were the worst child abuser in Texas.
Oh.
So I can only see my sons if I go to a forensic counseling facility where I am observed by 2 psychologists.
Oh my.
During the entire 2 hours. They charge $150 an hour. I'm allowed to be there for 2 hours. That's $600 for each visit that I have to pay for to see my sons.
Oh
That's it.
Chad, I want you to understand something. We've got 18 teachers in the Dallas school district that have been caught abusing children that are still teaching today. That was put in Coppell and
Yes.
other.
Coppell's had 3.
Father, I can't get a pedophile to get the maximum sentence in this state, and here a father is treated as if he is a sex offender. I mean, this is a situation where I pray that your son somehow gets. We train girls this when they're in duress, right, being trafficked. Get your voice out. Someone will believe you. He just needs to know you'll believe him. Somehow get him to shoot a video of himself saying, "I'm a boy. I want the world to know I'm a boy."
I've seen video of him saying, James saying, "I want to be with my father all the time."
Let's go to James O'Keefe. Let's go to Veritas and bleed that out into the world. Here's the boy speaking for himself, not under duress from his mom's home. As she's trying to tell him he's Luna, let him speak. What's the judge going to say? The
boy himself is saying, "I'm a boy. I want to be a boy,
and I want to be with my father."
Inadmissible to court, right? They threw that. They didn't take it into court.
The judge, one of the problems, and I'm gonna, I may offend some people saying this, but I think one of the big flaws in the U.S. Constitution and in the Texas Constitution. If you read the Federalist Papers, they were very worried that the judiciary was going to be too weak compared to the other branches of government. And we see with the power to compel speech, it's the only branch of government that can compel speech. When you walk into a courtroom, you don't have free speech, but more powerfully, the court can compel you to speak, right? So in a civil case, you don't have the right to remain silent. And if you do, the judge can make adverse inferences against you. So the judges can compel speech, a very powerful thing that they can do. I think that the courts have become so powerful, and the only way to remedy a bad judge is the impeachment power in the legislature, which is very difficult to pull off. We really need something where we can remove bad judges, and I think we need to turn that over to the Attorney General or something, and we need to find another way to do that. But they have incredibly broad discretion.
Mm-hmm. Have you engaged with Ken Paxton on this?
Yes, Ken Paxton's official point of view is that he is personally against all this. He hates what's happening to my son. He did, on behalf of my son in 2019, issue a letter to Health and Family Services, the agency, saying that all this abuse that she's doing to my son was admitted in sworn testimony. Why aren't they acting? But he also has a sense of conservative modesty towards the exercise of government power, and he does not believe he has a constitutional right to act or intervene. And I really wish that our leaders in government would stop with this fake constitutional modesty. Mm-hmm. The left is going to use its power. We need to use our power.
Yeah. But one thing, they don't control the court of public opinion.
They do not.
They do not. And they may compel you in court to speak, but they can't tell you what to say.
That's right.
And so the people out there, we're still more than them. There's still, at least a good 78 million people.
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you, Joe, thank you for coming on the show, and thank you for talking.
Oh, yeah.
You and I
thank you for
talked on
having
the
me.
phone, and I said, I don't want to make this worse. I want to hear the story. I think people need to hear the story. They need to hear it from you.
This is a vital issue of public policy in the state of Texas. Yeah. No court should stop me from speaking about it or stop you from speaking about it. Right. Thank you for championing this cause because, frankly, we have some effeminate Republican leaders that won't stand up and address this. And, I wonder if some of them ought to be cross-dressing themselves. They act so weak. And you ain't one of them. And I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Jeff, thank you. Let me just say, anybody watching the show or listening to the show, if you've got any form of a conscience or sense of common sense, you've got to be shell-shocked right now because you're listening to this. You're listening to a man who has been put under temporary restraining orders that he can't fight back against. The last time he saw his son was July 30th. And there's a good chance you may not see your son for another 2 years. This is a situation that we have to expose. We have to put the light on this and make the cockroaches scatter because this is purely demonic. I'd kind of made up my mind. Obviously, I've talked to you. I've followed your story. Anybody's should be aware of that. But to hear this, I'd kind of made up my mind. I said, I'm gonna just let you tell your story. I'm not going to demonstrate a vested interest here. I'm just going to let you tell your story. But the visceral reaction that I have hearing this is so gut-wrenching to me. It's nauseating. As a father myself, it is so nauseating to me. I want to expose this thing to the ends of the earth. It's absolutely insane. I can't imagine if this were California, New York, something of that nature. This is Texas. This is Texas, where we think that, again, we have all these things under control, and this would never be heard of. And you're a living example of what's going on. Folks, I want you to follow Jeff Younger's story. Follow James Younger's story. I want you guys to pay attention to it. Get involved in this fight. You can do it. You know how to do it. Let your voice be heard. We'll see you guys tomorrow night. Love you. God bless you. We'll talk to you then. Bye.
Bye.